Operation Domination is underway. The ultimate game plan to dominate your NFL experience. With your hosts, Dan
You gotta be confident about your Achilles when you
Chase
show up.
Thornton,
Yeah, I mean, I got him
and Adam LaRue. Don't hope to be great and dominate.
All right. Welcome back into another edition of Operation Domination. Make sure you download us on your favorite podcast app or check out our video content when you go to the Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel at FF Advice Net. As always, I'm your host, Dan Mader, joined here with the one and the only Chaz Filardi of Sports Betting Weekly. Chaz, welcome back to the show again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
That was a sinister laugh.
Well, I told you I'm doing a lot of writing.
Yeah.
And there's a bad guy. There's always a protagonist and an antagonist, right?
I like it. Absolutely. We always have to have the bad guy makes the show or the movie.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm telling you right now. My bad guy in my writing is pretty bad. But he's a classy bad.
Okay.
Because evil, as you know, Satan comes in all kinds of forces. Satan comes with a knife, but he comes in a button-down suit too.
Can't wait to see that again. So look, it's week 11. We've been rolling along. Last week, I know my player props, I won more than I lost. I didn't win as much as I would have liked. It was 8-7, I believe, in my 15 player props that I put out on the article, which I do every Saturday, by the way, on the Huddle. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. I post it out on social media at Dan Mader FF. But a win's a win, right, Chaz? A win's a win.
Well, here's I got to tell you what I did.
Okay.
So last couple of weeks, I'm doing a lot of data and trying to find something. And again, my whole world revolves around going to Vegas for the AFC, NFC weekend. As you know, I'm I think 14th, 15th year of that. We call it our Better Way weekend. And it's just, it is what gets me through the grind for the entire year. I can go a whole year like getting whipped in the back as I'm pushing pyramids up the hill, and I would be fine if he let me go to the AFC NFC weekend in Vegas. So it really is about kind of learning, getting better. So I got a lot of data I'm dealing with, so I'm looking to find things. But so what happened is stuff wasn't going real well for me. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of people that lost. I wasn't the only one that had the better team and they didn't win, or a lot of dogs. Or like games like it was the Rams game. Actually, it was the Rams game, because I said, well, you know what, you were like just above a coin flip, so I'm going all in on your Charger. It was the Charger game. Was that the last game of the week, or?
Well, Monday night game was the last game of the week. That was the Eagles and Packers.
So anyways, the Chargers were on, and they didn't score, right?
It was the Steelers. It was 26-15, something like that.
And of course we needed like a couple hundred yards, and at one point he had 60. So yeah. I said to myself, damn, because that's just it happens. The game, the bottom line is, do you think anybody on that team cares that he didn't get our number? Right?
Yeah,
they don't care.
Justin Herbert there falling short of the passing yard number, which very few times he's actually had with that number there. It's just one of those.
If you look, like you say all the time, the flow of the game and what happens, I mean, you look at that final score, you assume, yeah, he did.
Right.
But it didn't work out.
Well, the Jets won on 2 special teams touchdowns too, so that tells you everything.
And if you look at what happened with our game Thursday, the same field goal that was the difference between the point spread and the total in the first half came back to be the same difference for the game, for both the total and the point spread. And that's the kind of stuff that when you're on the good side, you say, I think I'm going to go to church before the game Sunday.
Well, let's hope we can continue to line your guys' pockets green here. So again, international reminder, And it's the last international reminder, thank goodness, of the season. So we're going to Madrid for the very first time. It's the Washington Commanders versus the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored in this game at a 2.5 line with a 47.5 over under. The Dolphins are 5-5 against the spread, and the Commanders are only 3-7. That really should come as no surprise on that end. And the Dolphins really riding a 2.5 spread based on, well, them being upsetting Buffalo the week before, which, by the way, that I did win money on because I actually did pick Dolphins to cover in that game. So that was nice. But this is a game I'm not betting. You have an international game. You have two bad teams, but the Commanders I don't think are as bad as people think with Marcus Mariota quarterback. I never know week to week what kind of Dolphins team you're going to get. And I'm going to add this in, and this is from my own personal experience, and I'm sure I've brought this up on the show before, but I used to play football. And there was 1 year, thankfully my final year, we were very good, but we had 1 year in my tenure where we were really bad. But we beat our rival, who was like in first place that season, and we beat him 7-3. And we had all kinds of energy for that game. It was crazy. We all showed up, played our hardest that we possibly did the entire season. And then the very following week, all of that energy that we had put into that game
gone.
And due to that, we weren't able to muster up the energy needed to really play well, again, the rest of the season. But in particular, that following week was the roughest. And we've seen this in college. We've seen it happen in the NFL where this will happen. We're still human beings. There are letdowns. I would not be surprised if the Dolphins, after that huge upset victory against the Buffalo Bills, had a bit of an energy letdown against the Commanders in this game. All that to say is that I'm not betting a line in this one. But, Chaz, what are you seeing?
Well, I'm going to go through all the data. What I did last week is I started saying, okay, the fact that Washington on the road allows 24 points in 8 of 9 isn't really a relevant fact. But the fact that they're 0-5 against the spread is, right? Then you look at Miami overall. They've allowed 13 plus in the second half in 11 of 12. However, again, not enough information. If the point spread is 14.5, or they are giving or losing or winning with the point spread, and so now I'm starting to focus on just the against the spread over under. So here's what I got for Washington on the road. Now these are both on the road, right? That's the way I do it.
Correct.
Because
yeah.
they're in Spain. In the second half, they've allowed 13 plus in 9 of 10, and they're 2-9 against the spread. Now 2-7. 2-7 good, but it's not what I'm looking for. I look for something, as you know, that we're talking 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and it happens almost every time. It says right here on the road, Washington is 1-7 against the spread, and then it says on the road in the second half, Miami scored 13 plus in 6 of 7, but it's over 10 of 11. I like that. I like anything that's over 10 of 11. And they scored 27 plus in 9 of 10 on the road, which again sounds like an over number. But I had a brutal beat, I had 14.5, and they scored 14, and they missed the field goal. So, and they covered, but I didn't have them on the cover. I just had the point spread. So the highlights I have for this game is that Washington on the road is 1-7, and Miami in the second half is 10 for 11. So if you wake up like me and the game's almost over and it's Miami and over, I'm going to be happy.
I like that. But here's what I want to bet on. I do have player props for you in this game. So I got Devon Achane rushing yards, 79.5. This is one player, no matter what's been going on in Miami, has been on fire and playing well everywhere. I know everyone saw the big 2 runs that he had against the Buffalo Bills, and he busts out, goes for 150 yards total. That's fantastic. He's been good even outside of that game, even outside of the big runs. He's been efficient this season, and it's been fun to see. I have him projected for at least 82 yards coming into this game. He typically sees between 12 and 16 carries. If this does stay in a neutral or positive game script, it will likely be closer to 16 to 18 and just profile really well for him to actually get over that 79.5 rushing yards. And the Commanders are terrible against the run. Absolutely awful. They let up big plays all the time. Dan Quinn taking over play calling for the defense does not sway me at all. All right. This is Dan Quinn's system. This is his team. He's the one who decided to bring in a bunch of 90-year-old old guys in wheelchairs to play defense, and now they're paying the price for doing that. So yes, Devon Achane over 79.5 rushing yards. But I also have Jalen Waddle on the Dolphins too, going over 78.5 receiving yards. I got him projected for just about 80 yards heading into this game. Again, Commanders been bad against the run. They've been really bad against the other team's number one wide receivers so far this season. And since Tyreek Hill has been injured, Jalen Waddle has been between a 28 and a 32% target share. He has been an elite wide receiver one from a fantasy perspective, which leads to volume, which leads to yards and getting over on a very favorable line, I would say, at 78.5 for this matchup. So I'm riding the two Dolphin offensive players for this week.
That sounds like it works out for what I said.
It certainly goes hand in hand, 100%. We love it when a plan comes together.
Well, no, hold on a minute. That's our plan. We got a couple other guys that are involved in the plan. We'll see how they do.
All right, so we got the Packers and the Giants coming up. The Packers are favored at 7.5 points, so the over-under of 44.5. The Packers have been 3-6 against the spread. They're 5-3-1 straight up, yes, but 3-6 against the spread. They're not covering. And then the Giants, while they're 2-8 straight up, they're 5-5 against the spread. The Giants have been covering kind of a bit. Now, some background news for this one, in case you guys have missed it somehow. Jameis Winston's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. Yep, Jameis Winston is back. Jackson Dart's out with a concussion. Russell Wilson has moved to the third-string quarterback. The Giants have a brand new head coach, and Mike Kafka is the interim coach after they fired Brian Daboll over on Monday. And the Packers are now coming off of two back-to-back home losses. I think the Packers are actually looking forward to getting on the road right now and a superior team. I'm going to take the Packers to cover at 7.5. The Giants just might be an outright mess this weekend. That's what I see. What do you see, Chaz?
Well, I just read the data, but I do know that he may be third on the depth chart, but his wife is very, very pretty and talented. So Green Bay scored 10 or less, 5-5. They're 1-6 against the spread in the first half overall. They've allowed 10 or less in 4 straight in the second half, and for the game, they're 1-6 against the spread. Giants, in the second half, they've allowed 17 plus in 4-4. They're 0-4 against the spread, and it's gone over all 4 games. In the last 4 games, they've allowed at least 24 plus. On the road, though, Green Bay has allowed 13 plus in 3 of 3 in the first half. Green Bay is on a 1-8-1 against the spread streak. Now, normally, I would highlight that with my green highlighter. This is the Giants. In the first half, the Giants at home have gone over in 7 of 9. There's no way I'm betting against Green Bay in this spot because the Giants are imploding. But you like Green Bay, so I think if I was going to focus on anything, I would be that the fact that I see they've allowed, Giants are allowing, it's going over. And I'm going to highlight that because, holy cow, Green Bay looked terrible. And then I said to my buddy who's a Green Bay fan, I said, let me ask you a question. How the hell are you giving points to Philadelphia when you can't beat Carolina? And he goes, I don't know, I think it's fixed. And guess what? I think it was.
I know I took the Eagles on the underdog special for that one.
Didn't that seem like a freebie?
It was. It was a freebie, and you know what? We'll take the freebies when we can get them. I do have props during this game. So I got Josh Jacobs. I got him over 80.5 rushing yards. The Giants have been even worse than the Commanders, like I talked about, in the last segment there, against the run. I mean, you're talking about a defense who's given up over 100 yards rushing to running backs right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then Josh Jacobs, he was banged up a few weeks ago, but the last 2 weeks in particular, he's actually looked healthy, looked more like himself. And right now, while the Packers do have some things offensively they need to fix in the passing game, he is the offense at the moment. And he's getting between 19 to 23 carries, especially when they have neutral to positive game scripts. I know they lost to the Panthers. I throw out the Eagle game. Eagles are a good team. Things happen. I know they lost to the Panthers, and that might make you a little bit nervous. They are the better team to the Giants. I have to think at some point being the better team means you will have a positive to neutral game script. So this favors Josh Jacobs in this matchup very, very well. So I have him over the 80.5 rushing yards. I also have Christian Watson. So maybe you could say I have the Packers rebounding a bit on offense, but I also have Christian Watson going over his reception yards at 37.5. I have him projected for about 50 in this game. You want to talk about players who are starting to look healthy and comfortable. Watson's that guy. Now, Watson's always been a big play, boomer bust type of guy, and has not changed in the offense at all. But one play can get him over to 37.5 reception yards, certainly 2. And with guys like Jaden Reed still banged up. Matthew Golden, he's returning, but he's not really involved in the offense that much. The tight end they lost, and Tucker Kraft, and Luke Musgrave's not the same guy there. There's extra volume to be had, and the Giants are amongst the top 5 in big plays allowed to the perimeter wide receiver this season. So give me Christian Watson getting over this 37.5 reception yard mark.
I'm looking right now to see what that Green Bay team total is because you got me salivating.
I love it. I love it when I get Chaz thinking. It's fun. All right. So while you do that, I do have your hometown Los Angeles Chargers, or used to be hometown anyway. Jacksonville Jaguars. They are on the road in Jacksonville. Now, here's what's funny to me. The Chargers are favored at 2.5 with a 43.5 over under. And I get it. On paper, the Chargers are the better team. Jacksonville's been a very inconsistent, bit of a mess kind of situation, but still staying competitive. The Chargers are so bad on the road. Like, I know they're 7-3 straight up this season. They're 4-5-1 against the spread. They haven't covered a road game this year. Maybe one, but they haven't covered very much. They're especially, and you're talking about, again, going from west to east. If there's one team in the West that's proven to be the worst at going to west to east, it's the Chargers. So God help me. I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars as an outright underdog special of the week. It never feels good to bet on the Jaguars. I don't know, Chaz, what do you think?
All right, well, let's look at what we see for the Chargers. They've scored 12 plus and 3 of 3 in the first half. This is overall. In the second half, they've allowed 7 or less 3 straight. And for the game, they've scored 24 plus and 5 of 5. On the road, they're allowing 13 plus and 3 straight for the first half. And in the last 6 games on the road, it's gone over 5 of 6. 5-0-1, actually. So you got your money back on the 6th one. And on the road for the game, they've allowed 21 or less and 13 of 14. 13 of 14 is a lot, but you're not coming into a Jacksonville Charger game thinking it's going to be an over because the under is probably one of the lowest unders on the board, isn't it?
Yeah, 43.5, it has to be.
Yeah. So Jacksonville, they've allowed 14 plus in the second half and 5 of 6 overall, and they've allowed 29 plus in 3 of 3. At home, they've scored 7 or less in 4 straight, but in the first half, they're on a streak of under 0-9-1. So again, you got the first half. The Chargers are over 5-0-1. Jacksonville's under 0-9-1. For the game at home, it's under 7 of the last 9. I'm not touching this game, but if you've got Jacksonville, I have no trouble rooting against the Chargers because it's just a matter of time. The Spanos curse is going to hit them. It happens. I just hope it ain't the kid, the quarterback. Because I really like him. Of course, you know what? I'm a Ducks fan too. So
yeah, Justin Herbert's a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully it's not him too.
Oh, I mean, the bottom line is they show stuff on the screen, Dan, of what he's done, and then now their names on the screen are some of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived. Right? You're a Montana guy. You know he's done stuff that Montana did. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that did shit that Montana did.
Justin Herbert, so he has the curse of Phillip Rivers. I feel like Rivers fell down to this in this pathway as well, where when you look at everything and actually take
Rivers was 14-2 and his coach got fired.
I know. Exactly.
And that's not a curse. What is?
Like, it's hard as a Chargers quarterback. Like, these guys are legitimately good, and yet they're going to go down, or at least Phillip Rivers did it, and Justin Herbert, until something changes, is on along the same path of being one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks because they're not in a position to ever win anything big. Like, we're not even talking about in a position to win a Super Bowl. We're talking about being in a position to win playoff games.
The AFC West. Screw a playoff game. Just win. It's been, and I remember Kansas City was 0-2, and I told everybody, I mean, if you're sitting there right now and you're a Broncos fan, you think you got a shot of winning that division, I'm telling you right now, just put the name on Scotch tape, put Kansas City Chiefs slapping on the trophy and just give it to them now. You can get it engraved later.
What might even be scarier with the Chiefs is that because of the record the way that it is, they're going to have to play hard throughout the rest of the season just to jostle for positioning. If you got a Chiefs team coming in motivated throughout the entire year and they don't even get, they're not even going to take their foot off the pedal towards the end of the season. Oh, look out. This team's about to hit their rhythm. I'm with you on that one. But yeah, so like the Chargers, and because of that, Justin Herbert just falls into this category of, we know you're good, but you're on the Chargers and you never really amount to much. So you kind of get over
it. Honestly, I don't care what you think about Harbaugh. He's not even a good football coach. He's a great football coach, but he ain't a football coach who's going to run a football program that's going to make this quarterback look special either, right? And the problem is they're going to face somebody who's not as conservative in the playoffs. And that's, if they get to the playoffs, that's what will happen. They'll get beat by a coach who isn't as conservative. He's conservative. He really is,
Yeah, absolutely. The only time he went to the Super Bowl was when he had an elite defense and elite running game. Like, just to kind of go to show you. But he's never had a quarterback like Justin Herbert. Maybe at some point, not this season, I don't think, but maybe at some point that proves to be what gets him over the hump in that stance. Anyway, let's get back to it. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh Steelers. The over-under is 49. I'm not even going to give you the line. Look, the Steelers, fine. They're favored by 5.5. I don't care. The over-under is 49.5. Remember the last time these two teams played? 47-42? We all know how bad. I know it's been a week because they were on bye, but we all remember how bad Cincinnati Bengals defense is. Yeah. Bet the over immediately. I couldn't believe this was under 50 for this game. Couldn't believe it. Bet the over. So if you want to know, the Bengals are 3-6 against the spread. The Steelers are 4-5 against the spread. Again, don't care. Bet the over. Chaz, what are you seeing?
Yeah, listen to this. In the first half, Cincinnati in their last three has scored 17+. In the second half, they scored 14+ and 5 of 5. They've allowed 17+ and 5 of 5. It's gone over in 7 of 8. Yeah, highlight over 7 of 8. I like 7 of 8. 7 of 8. Think about 7 of 8. You got anything in your life that happens 7 out of 8 times? There's not too many of them. There's always going to be 1 or 2 that go bad. They scored 30 in
the morning. I don't know.
Yes, they scored 33+ and 3 of 3. They allowed 27+ of 8 of 8. Pittsburgh has scored 10 or less in 3 of 3, but they have allowed 13+ in 5 of 6, and that is at home in the second half. On the road, they scored 24 at home. They scored 14+ in 4 of 5, and they scored 23+ in 4 of 4. Yeah, so I'm on the over too.
Oh, I love it. Love it when we're both on the same page. I do have props for you guys in this game, and I think two actually. I got 2 props for you in this game. So first off, DK Metcalf, 52.5 receiving yards prop. I know it's been inconsistent, to say the best, and fantasy owners, you're already going to know this. It's been wildly inconsistent with DK Metcalf. Maddening when you think about the fact that this is an offense that plays with like 4 tight ends, and he's the only wide receiver. And he's still inconsistent somehow. I know. I get it. Arthur Smith is a nightmare. I understand this. However, you're playing against Cincinnati Bengals. If there's one defense that fixes all woes for players, it is the Cincinnati Bengals. And at 52.5, I'm not talking about much here. I'm talking about 3 receptions. Probably gets over this number. Tops. And a game that we both talked about being a high over-under and still wanting to bet the over. Yeah, so I'm all over DK Metcalf here. His playing time is fine. He's getting 6 to 8 targets. He's getting 35+ routes per week. The problem has been connecting on those. I know, but against Cincinnati, I think they'll connect on more than what they had been in the past few weeks. The other player prop I have for you is Chase Brown, the running back, but it's a receiving prop. The receiving yards prop at over-under of 20.5 yards. I got him projected for 24. And I think that's actually a low projection when you think about it going into this game. Remember the bye week? The guy had 14 receptions. Now, I don't know if Joe Flacco is going to dump it off of that to that degree again, but he has a habit of throwing the ball to the running back. And the only thing that was really holding Chase Brown back, especially in the receiving game, was Samaje Perine, who's still injured even after the bye week, still has not practiced. He will not play. If Perine's not out there, Chase Brown is getting 90% of the workload in the backfield. He's going to get over 20.5 receiving yards. The Steelers linebackers have been awful against running backs catching the football. He's going to get over that 20.5 receiving yard mark. So I like that there too. Oh, I had a third one. I forgot about this one. I think I wanted to forget about this one. So Aaron Rodgers, 1.5 passing touchdowns. And I do have him projected for 2 in this game. Again, matchup Cincinnati Bengals. I talked about that already. But as much as it's been boring to watch Rodgers, as much as he's become, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger late in their careers where it's set height, get the ball out of my hands as fast as possible because I don't want to even get breathed on and actually look for a play down the field. He actually has been on a streak now of 3 of the last 4 throwing 2 touchdowns or more. And I don't see why that streak would suddenly stop in a matchup like this against Cincinnati. So Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing touchdowns this week. Any reactions to that, Chaz?
Well, yeah, I mean, I got the over. That's good for me to hear, right? I mean, if the bottom line is that game, the Charger game, that was just, I don't know what that was, right?
Yeah.
That was ugly. And he, you got to admit, I don't care how old he is. He's a great quarterback.
Sure.
Slam dunk Hall of Famer, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty exciting. My son was in Costa Rica when he threw that Hail Mary to win that game, and the security came up they were at an all-exclusive. You know how much noise you got to make at an all-exclusive resort to get yelled at?
Oh, man. All right.
But yeah, you got to think he's going to have a little bit of an attitude. You would think.
A little bit of success in the matchup like this, too. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are heading to Buffalo. Bills are favored at 5.5 with an over-under of 49.5. The Bucs have been 6-3 straight up, but 5-4 against the spread. The Bills are 6-3 straight up, but 4-5 against the spread. So these two teams are neck and neck. And the Bills, you want to talk about... Chaz, you know what? I was having a conversation with my brother. You guys all know him, Chris Dowhauer. And we were talking about how this season has been strange. And everyone talks about how every year is strange in some capacity. But this year, what really is sticking out, to me at least, is the wild, inconsistent, week-to-week play calling that we've been seeing, which has led to these teams being
I'm not sure if it was you or I'm not sure if it was you or Adam, right? But I told you, my wife is yelling at the screen, Dan, saying, I'm a chicken. I could know the call better than I mean, here's the thing, okay? The thing that really ticks us off, all right? 1st and goal, throw the ball on 1st down. Baltimore did it. They had Derrick Henry. He averages 3 yards. They were on the 6-yard line. It was 1st and goal from the 6. They ended up kicking a field goal because they threw it on 1st down. It was incomplete. Then he scrambled and threw it out of bounds. That's always great, right? When your guy's running for his life on the 6-yard line and he throws it up into the stands. That's really, whether you have that team or the over, you're loving that shit. It's just brutal. But she was saying, why aren't they giving the ball to Derrick Henry and stuff like that? But it's not just her team. She's seen it. And if she can see it, guys, how could these guys that are making $5-6 million a year not see it?
It's been maddening, Chaz. It's like everyone's trying to outthink themselves. I'm going to outthink this guy. He's never going to expect this. You're just outthinking yourself. Just stick to the basics.
Again, you got to admit, that's why halfway through a season, there's a lot of coaches already fired because they did stupid. The Giants coach, I saw him do at least 3 or 4 stupid things. In that Denver game, he might have done 3 or 4 in just that one game.
Yeah, it's really maddening. But that is what stuck out to me. The coaching, the schematics week to week has been wildly inconsistent, which has led to these teams just it feels like they have no identity. I don't know what the Buffalo Bills are, and we're at week 11.
They're not scoring points.
No, they're not.
They're not scoring points. They may be moving the ball, but they're not scoring points. And you know what? What happens between the 20s, keep to yourself. I don't really care.
And Tampa Bay's not as good either, even though they're a competitive team. So we keep going back and forth. Like I said, this is just a very wide example of what I'm seeing. And the Buffalo Bills are a prime example of the inconsistency from week to week that we have been seeing throughout the NFL, in my opinion. Anyway, to get back to it, Bills, again, are favored at 5.5 points with a 49.5 over under. I'm not betting this game. These are two teams that we could see a ton of points. We could see nothing with the way they've been playing. What do you see, Chaz?
So you know how I look at every single section, right? first quarter, first half, second half game. The Bills have nothing. Nothing. In the last whatever game, they have no consistency. Nothing. There's not one trend. It's just all X's. Tampa Bay, the only thing they got going for them is they've scored 23 plus and 6 to 7. Again, that's great. But if the other team ain't scoring and your over's 24.5, that 23 don't get you squat, you know? Here on the road, Tampa Bay, nothing for the first half, nothing for the first quarter. They've allowed 10 or less in 8 of 9 in the second half on the road. Buffalo has scored a touchdown at home in 5 of 6. First half, nothing. Second half, they're 11-2 against the spread, and they have scored 24 plus in 15 of 16 at home. They've scored 24 plus at 15 or 16, but the problem is if the line's 27.5, like I looked up the Green Bay line, 26.5. 24 don't get you. You need 27.
Well said. Okay, so with that, let's go to the Houston Texans. I don't have any props in that game. So let's go to the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans. A lovely AFC South divisional matchup. Total sarcasm there. The Texans are favored at 7.5 points. Over under is 39.5. You got two teams that don't score, and one of them's got an elite defense. Yeah, I'm not expecting a lot of points to be scored in this game either. By the way, C.J. Stroud's going to be out for another week, so it's going to be Davis Mills, the backup quarterback again. Who, I mean, look, Houston came back and won last week, right? So they performed admirably. He did what they had to do. The Texans right now are 4-5 against the spread. Titans are 3-6. I'm not betting this game. So with the Texans, with the way they don't score and the way they can lean on their defense and not push the issue, I don't trust them to cover by more than a touchdown against anybody, even if it is the Tennessee Titans. I don't know. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, that's the problem. You know, when you're given more, so if you're given like 3 points, it's like minus 140, give or take, right? We'll not get specific, but minus 140. So minus 140 ain't too bad. For $140, I pick up $100, and I don't have to worry about whether they're covering or not, because as you know, they don't care about covering.
Right.
Honestly, a guy that's got an over/under of 67 rushing yards, he don't care about that number. That number means nothing to him. The only number they care about is 100. That's the only number a running back cares about is 100. Anything under 100. What he's got and your bet have nothing to do with each other because they're not motivated to get 67 yards. We talk about it all the time. Mom, we lost, but I got 67 yards. You know, that phone call's not happening. But these teams again, Houston allow 11 or less in 9 of 10 in the second half. They're on the road in the second half. They're 1-6 against the spread. Otherwise, just inconsistency. Tennessee has some consistency. They allow a lot of points in the first half. They don't score any points in the second half. They don't score points for the game. And at home, they allow points in the first half, and they score no points in the second half. So the bottom line is, I don't know what minus 6 is. Well, it's got to be minus 180, somewhere around there. I think it's a free minus 180. I think if you lay $180 on this game when you're done, if you take Houston, that you will win $280. You'll get paid $280. That's my belief.
Okay, well, let's go with that then. Chicago and Minnesota, we got Vikings favored at home by 3 points. The over-under sitting at 47.5. The Bears are 6-3 straight up, but 5-4 against the spread, and the Vikings are 4-5 against the spread. Now, this is not a game in which I'm going to say, bet a full credit or however you want a full unit for this one, but I do kind of like the Bears in an upset special here. So remember back in week 1, which is the last time these two teams played, the Vikings came back and won in the fourth quarter. And people thought that was the coming out party of J.J. McCarthy. Even though he had an awful game, he had a good quarter, and they thought it was a coming out party. Since then, people are talking about, who the Vikings going to move on to next year. So it's been ugly. But the funny part is, they won against the Lions. Despite him playing a horrible game, they won against the Lions. Now, flip it around, go to Chicago. Chicago's been winning these close games at the end in similar-ish fashion. The difference is that the Vikings are winning based on their defense and their other players making big plays. When the Bears, as maddening as it is to watch Caleb Williams play quarterback, and it is. It's absolutely maddening. You can literally see the guy his head smoking on fire as he tries to think and read what's happening in front of him. But he always seems to make these big plays when they need it the most, and they wind up winning these ball games. And as a result, the Chicago Bears are a winning football team right now. And they haven't been able to say that for a lot of years. I think Chicago has a chance here. The Vikings defense gives up enough big plays. J.J. McCarthy is bad enough to where I think the Bears could actually pull off a road upset here. So, again, don't bet a full unit on it, but I do want a little bit on it. What do you think, Jazz?
Well, last time I looked, the Bears were tied for first place. I mean, think about those words. Those words are coming out of your mouth. You're looking at, is this another episode of the Twilight Zone? Okay, so here's what we got. For the second half, Chicago's game's over 5 of 6. For the game, Chicago scored 25 or more in 6 of 7. We've talked about that number before because they have been going over their team total. And because the games have been crazy at the end, right?
Yeah. In
the first half on the road, they're 2-11 against the spread. Now that's a big number. I got to highlight that number. 2-11 is a number. I mean, if you came on next week and said your picks went 11-2, how cocky would you be? Right? That's great.
And I'll add to that, Chaz, because what's happening is I'm not surprised by the number, basically. So what's happening is that they come out and Caleb is doing his bad Caleb things. And as a result, they are falling behind, or at least getting behind a little bit, heading into that second half. And then all of a sudden, we get good Caleb who makes these big plays. So it doesn't surprise me that the numbers line up that way.
And there you go. Here's what the number: 8-0-1 over in the second half, and they've scored 20. They've scored 25 in 6 of 7 on the road. They've allowed 23 plus. So is the total more than 48 on this game? Where's the total in this game?
It's 47.5. So
there you go. Bada bing. So Minnesota scored 10 or less in 3 of 3 in the second half, but they've gone over in 6 of 7. They've allowed 24 plus and 4-4 at home. The first half has gone under. Second half has gone over 9 of 10. So you got in the second half, you got the Bears are over 8-0-1, and Minnesota's over 9-10. Now that's the old Chaz. The old Chaz would be waiting around for that second half over, not the new Chaz.
All right, so let's talk a little Carolina-Atlanta. The game's in Atlanta. The last time this game came up, I was uber confident that the Falcons would wipe the floor with Atlanta or with Carolina, and Carolina wiped the floor with them. They beat them 30-0 in Carolina. It's crazy. Well, the Falcons now, fast forward, they're favored at home, which they should be, at 3.5 points with an over-under of 42.5. So we're talking about one of the lower over-unders of the week. Okay. I think the Falcons make up for what happened when they played each other earlier in the season. So the Panthers are 6-4 against the spread, just so everybody knows, and the Falcons are 4-1. But the Atlanta Falcons are a much better team at home. And what's happening with the Falcons right now, I know they haven't been necessarily winning these games, but they've been really close against some good competition. The defense is getting healthier. So when we had those middle of the weeks where the Falcons just looked like a bad team, their defense was all banged up. They had lost both their pass rushers, Diablo, who's still out, he got knocked out in those games, and Bauman was out. Bauman's now back. They have their pass rushers back. And we kind of saw a taste of that last week where they were getting after the quarterback. Bryce Young has regressed since that point earlier in the season. Somehow he's gotten even worse. And the Panthers are pretty much Rico Dottle, save us and nothing more. Or in the Green Bay Packers case game, just have them implode on you instead. I think the Falcons cover, and I'm willing to boost this lineup to 6.5. I think they cover by at least a touchdown. I'm gonna get those extra bonus points in this bet. That's me. What do you got?
Listen to these Carolina stats. They score 10 or less. They score 9 or less. They score 16 or less. That's how overall on the road they score 10 or less. They score 9 or less. They score 16 or less. We're talking about 11 games in the second half at home on the road. In their last 11 games, they've scored 9 or less in 9 of them. Think about that. There's just not water polo. I don't think you could win at water polo if you only get 9 goals.
But somehow they're 6-4 against the spread. It doesn't make any sense. I know they're an enigma. But the Green Bay game jumps out at you, right? Yeah.
You scored, they would have scored 10 points and won?
Well, I think, wasn't that game 17-16?
It was 1 point. I thought it was 10-9 or something like that.
I think it was 17,
13-10.
but somewhere along those lines. But anyway, that's been their luck. All right, late window Sunday. We got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The 49ers are on the road. They are favored by 3 points. The over-under is sitting at 48.5. Niners have 5-5 against the spread, and the Cardinals are 5-4 against the spread. Big injury news fueling this game. So Brock Purdy's back. Ricky Pearsall's back. Alfred Collins is back. That's on the 49ers side. Then what's going on with Arizona? Marvin Harrison just had surgery on his appendix. He's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. So he's out. Will Johnson's out. They have a couple of their linebackers out. So the Cardinals are coming into this game very banged up. And Trey Benson didn't return after the bye like they originally had hoped. So you're still stuck with Amari DeMarcado and Bam Knight, little Michael Carter. Nobody can run. Doesn't matter who it is. I know the 49ers just got shellacked by the Rams last week. That had more to do with their defense and the Rams being a really great football team right now. I'm taking the Niners to cover this game, and I think I can say that without being a homer. But I'm taking the under. What do you think?
So in the first half, overall, the games have gone over 5 of 6 for San Francisco, and for the game over 5-1-1. For Arizona in the game, they scored 21 plus and 5 of 5. Now, on the road, the first half has gone over 9 of 10. I got to write that down. 9 of 10. I like that. That's for the first half on the road. San Francisco on the road, they've allowed 24 and 3 of 3, and it's gone over 8-1-1. So that's 2 overs I've seen. Then on the home, Arizona, they've scored 13 plus and 7 of 9. Second half's gone over 5 of 6. They scored 20 plus and 6 of 6, and they've allowed 22 plus and 5 of 5 over and 6 of 7. So yeah, I got 3 overs here. I'm going with the over, and I think that'll be a low over, right?
No, I mean 48.5 is not.
No, that's not low. It's not low because normally San Francisco games, there's not a lot of points scored.
Well, in years past, not this year.
Yeah, right.
Well, since the injuries of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, anyway. All right, so the big game of the week is Seattle and the Rams. So the Rams are sitting at a 2.5-point favorite. This game is in Los Angeles, which, as we know, means absolutely nothing because the Rams have no home field, even though they're a great team because it's Los Angeles. But anyway, it's a 48.5 over-under. Both of these teams are 7-2 against the spread. Both are tied for the best against the spread mark so far this season in the same division, and they're facing off. Give me the Rams at 2.5. I'm just going to take the home guy. I'm going to take the home team in this one. I know I said you don't have much of a home field advantage, but there's a difference for Seattle when they're in Seattle versus not. And with the way the Rams offense is playing, so what the narrative is going to be? Let me back up. What the narrative is going to be here is that you have one of the top defenses in the NFL versus one of the top offenses in the NFL. And then Seattle offensively has been able to kind of do their thing with Sam Darnold, JSN, and all that. But Seattle's defense, this is just my opinion, but I believe they're fraudulent. They have a good pass rush, but you can run right at them. They have one good corner, but I can throw at all 3 of the other secondary guys at will. Sean McVay is a better coach in my mind at this point than Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel might get there at some point. I don't think he's quite there yet. Whoever wins this game takes first place in the division. So you're going to get the best shot from both teams. I'm taking the Rams in this one. At 2.5, I feel like that's close enough to being a pick 'em. What do you got in this one, Chaz?
You know how many times I've said the Rams in the second half have been covering for me. Teams win championships in the second half. The Rams, I believe, right now are the best team in the NFL. I really do. I mean, I would rather have their quarterback than Seattle's quarterback. However, so in Minnesota. Really, the dude set records. What was he? What were they? What was his record last year? Like 15-2 or something?
They were 14-3 last year.
Yeah. And you let him walk for this McCarthy kid. No, maybe he's going to be the next best thing. But I think they just made a mistake. And boy, it's painful because he's fun to watch. Yeah, remember, he was out here, so I got to see him as a college kid. You know?
Out in USC, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so Seattle in the first half, they scored 13 plus and 6 of 7. They're 6-1 against the spread. For the game, they scored 27 plus and 3 of 3, but they've allowed 20 or less and 7 and 9. They're 7-1 against the spread. You don't see any highlighting yet. On the road, score 13 plus 3 or 3 in the first half. They allow 7 or less, 3 or 3, 4-1 against the spread. They scored 9 or less in the second half on the road. They've allowed 21 or less for the game in 9 of 10, and they're 8-2 against the spread on the road. The Rams have scored 20 plus in 3 of 3. They've allowed 10 or less in 6 of 7. That's for the first half. In the second half, they scored 14 plus in 6 of 6. They're 9-1 against the spread. Yeah, I'm writing that one down. They've scored 34 now plus in 3 straight. They're 4-0 against the spread. They are at home scoring 14 plus in the second half, allowing 10 points or less. They're 5-0 against the spread, and they've scored 23 plus in 3 of 3. I got to think there's going to be some points scored in this game.
I would think.
Here's where I'm going with this, because if I remember, the point spread was a field goal, right? Yeah.
Well, yes, right? 2.5 for the Rams with a 48.5 over under.
Right, so I will have the Rams. I will have the Rams early. I will have the Rams at halftime. I will have the Rams money line for a big play, because I'm going to do some money line parlays this week, because there are a few games that I don't want to think about that. I mean, you know what? When you take that out of the equation of how you watch a game, it totally changes the game. It really does, because now you're in sync with the coach. You don't need to kick that field goal. I'm chasing a hook. The hook. What a vicious. If you don't believe in Satan, okay, then you don't know what a half point in football betting is.
Oh, man. I do have props for this game. So Zach Charbonnet, his rushing yards sitting at 31.5 for the over-under in this one. Yes, he is the complement to Kenneth Walker. Yes, as far as how much these guys get involved can vary week to week, game script to game script. But for the most part, Zach Charbonnet has been somewhere between 8 and 12 carries. The Rams are good against teams who run off the tackles, who run zone, outside zone, I should say. But what they struggle with is a team that when they get downhill with a more physical runner, you can run at them. That's what Zach Charbonnet does. That's the role he plays within this offense. So if you give me 8 to 12 carries, I will give you 33. That's what I have him projected for. Rushing yards, getting over that 31.5 rushing yard mark. I like it a lot for this week. All right. Here's the other big game of the week. Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs on the road in Denver. The almighty Denver, who's, super good so far this season, 8-2. But the Chiefs are still favored at 3.5 points with an over-under of 44.5. The Chiefs are actually 5-4 against the spread, while the Broncos are 4-5-1 against the spread so far this season. Give me the Chiefs all freaking day. You want to give me the Chiefs for 3.5 points? Beautiful. Is Denver Broncos defense good? Yes, their defense is legit. Is that team legit? No, their team is a fugazi. Why? Bo Nix stinks. The offense is inept. The Chiefs have a good defense in their own right. And Mahomes looks as good as he's looked in about 2 years now. And they're coming off a bye with Andy Reid. Give me the Chiefs to cover at 3.5. What do you got in this game, Chaz?
Yeah, you know what? You mentioned it earlier, right? The last thing you want to do is have the Chiefs with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, they're pretty good when they're just playing the game, So Kansas City, first quarter under 8 of 9. First half scored 13 plus 5 of 6. This is overall. Second half have allowed 10 or less and 7 of 8. Then their last 4 games overall have gone under. On the road, they're on a 1-4 against the spread streak. But there's no doubt about it that when you're looking at this Chiefs team, you saw the difference. You're just seeing it when you watch them. Denver in the first half overall under 5 of 6. And they beat Las Vegas by 6, right, in the second half. No, they beat it 3-0. They only scored 3 points in that whole second half, but they were given 6. But before that, they were 11-1 against the spread in the second half. That could happen. That could be a situation where Kansas City gets up, 17-3. And you can get Denver in the second half and win both bets.
I like that a lot. I do have a prop for you guys. So RJ Harvey, the running back for the Denver Broncos, I have him over his receiving yards prop at 15.5. So first off, if you haven't heard, you should have by now, but J.K. Dobbins is not going to play in this game. And maybe a few weeks before we play him. That means RJ Harvey, who has shown flashes throughout the season, is finally going to have the opportunity to be the lead bell cow back. And he's already been heavily involved as a receiver to begin with before this point. So now he's going to be on the field more often. And a 15.5 receiving yards line just seems awfully low for a guy who's consistently in that 25-30 range. And he wasn't even the starter during that time. So lock in RJ Harvey over 15.5 receiving yards. Here's what we got with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. So the Ravens right now are favored at 8.5 points. The over-under sitting at 40.5. Ravens 4-5 against the spread, but I feel like you can throw that out because you know half of that wasn't with Lamar Jackson under center. And they're a much different team when that happens. The Browns are 3-6 against the spread. The Ravens destroyed the Browns in week 2. I mean, absolutely clobbered them when Lamar Jackson was in there. Now, this game is in Cleveland. It makes a difference. But I expect the Ravens to do it again. Don't be fooled by the record. This team is getting healthier, and their defense has been playing a little bit better. Plus, the Browns can't score anyway. So I'll give you the Ravens to cover, even in a big point spread here. What do you think, Chaz?
Yeah, in their last 14 games overall, Cleveland has scored 20 points or less in 13 of 14. You're not going to beat Lamar Jackson. You might beat the Ravens with a backup quarterback scoring 20 points or less, but you're not going to beat Lamar Jackson. And again, you're absolutely right, because if you look at their offensive stats, they're not. There's nothing jumping out. But if you look at the defensive snaps in the last 3 games, Baltimore scored 27 plus in 3 of them, and they've allowed 19 or less in 4 of them. 27 minus 19, that's 8. What's the point spread?
8.5.
Here you go, right there.
Right. Yep. Chasing the hook. All right. We got the Sunday night game. Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles. Should be an interesting Sunday night game, to say the least. The Eagles are favored in this game at 1.5 for the over-under at 48.5. Both teams are 6-3 against the spread so far this season. I haven't really liked the way the Eagles have looked all season. And it didn't look any better, even though they beat the Green Bay Packers last week. It was just an ugly football game. I never thought I would say this, because I never thought it would happen. But apparently, Dan Campbell is a damn good play caller. He's always been the motivator. Yes, he's been offensively driven, and he's very aggressive. But last week, he took over the play calling. I would have thought they brought Ben Johnson back. They finally look like Detroit again, when they've looked kind of like out of sync a bit throughout the entire year with Johnny Morton calling plays. So if Detroit is on rhythm with what they can do, and the Eagles are out of sync, even though this game's in Philadelphia, and I typically don't like to bet Detroit on the road, but I don't expect the weather to be too difficult this Sunday in Philly. I'm from the area. I like Detroit to win this game outright here. I really, really do. Chaz, what are you seeing?
You know what? Let's look at Detroit in their first quarter. In their last 8 games, they've scored a touchdown in 7 of them, right? One of those games, that was it. Minnesota took over and scored the next 3, I think. They scored 14 plus in 7 of 8 in the first half, but their overall team totals are 14.5, and they've scored 24 plus in 7 of 8. So they're scoring points, but they're not having those 40s. They were having 40s in the past, right? So I don't know if Philly says Philly here. They allow 10 or less in the first half. In 5 of 6, they're 5-1 against the spread. And the only stat it has for them at home is in the first quarter, they've also scored a touchdown in 6 of 7. So, you know, I like that. I'm thinking if Philly's scoring at home and Detroit's scoring overall, I'm going to go first quarter over.
All right. I like that too. Let's talk about the Monday night game. We got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Vegas Raiders. And if there was ever a game to have an example for why you should be betting and playing fantasy football, it's this one, because I don't know why else you'd care about this game. But the Cowboys are favored at 3.5 points on the road in Vegas. The over-under set at 50.5. Cowboys are 4.5 against the spread, 3-5-1 straight up. And the Raiders are 3-5-1 against the spread, while 2-7 straight up. Dallas should cover. I mean, you want to talk about teams you're looking at. The Raiders offensively look like a high school team. There's no way around it. Chip Kelly's got to go, but that's a conversation for another day. They flat out look like a high school team on offense. So the one thing you could take advantage of against Dallas is the fact their defense is not very good. But I don't even know if the Raiders are in a position to be able to do that consistently. And this over-under at 50.5, I can see why it could happen, but that seems a little high for me for teams that have not been consistently putting up points on either side. Dallas falls into that realm as well. They kind of had trouble putting up points the last couple of weeks before their bye week. So I kind of like the under in this game. I look at this and like, in order to hit that over, Dallas has got to drop 40. That's kind of how I would look at this thing. I don't know if they do. What do you got?
No, I agree with you, because you'll remember that it was December 20th, 2023 was the last time the Raiders scored more than 20 points at home, and then they end up doing it in that crazy game, but they did it all in the fourth quarter. They scored more in the fourth quarter than they had scored at home, than they had scored in a game at home in 2 years. So, yeah, if you think if you're getting 20 out of them, yeah, maybe, but I don't think you're getting 50 in this game. So the only stats in this game, it says that in the first half overall, Dallas is allowing 13 plus in 8 of 9, and on the road, their last 6 have gone over in the first half. In the second half, they've allowed 17 plus in 3 of 3. In their last 4 road games, they've lost the second half against the spread, while Vegas in the first half has scored 10 or less in 9 of 10, and it's gone under in 6 straight. And then the only other data point is in the first half at home, they've allowed 9 or less in 3 of 3. So, yeah, I won't have any action in this game, I don't think. See, here's the thing. I'm mature enough and disciplined enough that just because I have money doesn't mean I'm betting Monday Night Football. I didn't bet Thursday Night Football. I wasn't touching that game. That game just was the line movement. It was just reeking of bad things, and that's pretty much what it was if you were betting Patriots. It was bad things.
Maybe I could change your mind on Monday night, because I do have a player prop for you. So I got Ashton Genty rushing yards over 63.5. I have him projected for 68.5 heading into this matchup. So since he's been a little bit more consistent over the past few weeks, you've been seeing him get between the 60s and the 70s over the last 4 weeks or so with his rushing stat number. And again, we're talking about 63.5, so a low 60. He's been getting about 15 to 19 carries within that time span. And Dallas is a team who's allowing 110 rushing yards per game to the running backs on about 22 to 23 carries per game. And even receiving, like if you wanted to dabble in Ashton Genty's rushing and receiving yards combined prop, they've been giving up 45 receiving yards per game to the position too. But basically, running backs can destroy Dallas. And I like his rushing yards over prop here at 63.5 for Ashton Genty.
Yeah, he's going to be a great running back. He may take him a couple of years, because I don't know if anybody's going to be anything great in like who's the guy that they is it their tight end? Who's the tight end in
Brock Bowers?
Right. Yeah. Anywhere else, he's like leading the league.
No,
but and so. Because he's a great running back. You don't do what he did. I don't care who you play. You don't do what you did the way he did it. He ran, because I saw him, because he was in the Mountain West. He ran over people. Right? Was he Boise? BYU. Yeah, Boise State. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, he averaged like the Herschel Walker 200 yards a game or something. So
he's insane.
So he's a safe bet, and he's literally. There's a lot of guys you could say about, but with him, he is one play away from 60 yards.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. So I do like that prop, and that might be the thing that we key in on. That's going to do it for the show, though. So, Chaz, as always, thank you for coming on. But what do you want people to check out?
Well, if you want to go on Facebook tomorrow, you can wish me happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I'll wish it to you now. Happy
yeah, there you go. And then that's my weekend. I'm making a lobster bisque tonight.
Nice.
I you know what? I tried that whole make a cocktail chase thing, and the first week I was on with Adam, it just didn't work for me. So I'm going to stick to what I know best, which is food. So I'm making a lobster bisque. I got some raw clams. Tomorrow we were supposed to go to the beach, but we're getting an El Nino. So it's, some pretty good college football games on. Today I was at the Asian market, with the big fish market, where they have all the whole fishes, because that's where I shop. And I took a picture, and it said, not a bad day at all. So that's my weekend. And I'm still writing. Like I said, I understand the whole antagonist-protagonist situation, and I think I'm doing a very good job of it. So
I love it. All right, Chaz. Well, thanks again. Happy birthday to the rest of you out there. Make sure you download Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app and check out our video content when you go to the Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel at FF Advice Net. As always, I'm your host, Dan Mater. You can hit me up at Dan Mater FF throughout the weekend for your fantasy football questions or player prop bets. Check out my article on the Huddle that comes out every Saturday afternoon. And until then, good luck this weekend, as Chaz, as you always like to say.
Yeah, always be cashing.
Always be cashing. We'll see you guys soon.